So before I get started working today, I want to do a quick video on carbide scrapers. These are very talked about in the hobby. A lot of hobbyists have them, and I highly recommend everyone gets at least one. I've had these, my husband bought me these like my first year of customizing one Christmas, and these are years old and they still work fabulously. I would like to get a second set as a backup. I did break one of the tips. I don't know how. I don't know why it happened. I might have dropped it one day and it had a weak point and then it just went one day. So I don't know. Anyway, I will talk about these. They come when you get the full set. It comes in this neat little case here. You comes with the handle and another little case of all your tips. So this is basically what it is. It's almost like an X-Acto knife type handle, and each tip is a carbide. Oh, looks like I got some epoxy on that. Anyway, right now this seems to be the one I use most because it's similar to the one I accidentally broke. Don't even ask me what numbers these are. You'll have to compare them on the website to see which ones they are. But this one that I have in here now is the pointy one with the flat end that has like a chisel at the end of it. I don't really use the chisel too much while I'm using this one, but it's got the best of both worlds of the chisel and the one I used to use. This is the one I broke. And yes, I saved it because, I don't know, I thought maybe I can use it or something, figure it out. But anyway, this is the tip of the one that I accidentally broke. It was on a pewter micro. I don't know how it happened, so that doesn't usually happen. It's great because it has the long side that you can use for larger scraping, but it also has a nice rounded pointy tip that you can get in other areas without digging too deep. That's the problem with this one that has a chisel tip at the end. I can't really get into too many small areas with this one because it'll start scraping with the chisel tip. That's why I liked this one a lot. But it's still got that long shape and smaller area at the end, so it's been my main one since I broke this one. I have to get another one of these. Another one that you'll often use is the big rounded one. It's great for large seam removal. Like if you have a lot of area you need to cover, it's got this whole side for you to start to scrape off some stuff, and a nice rounded tip that if you get into areas that are around this small, it doesn't dig in too much into the resin or the plastic. I'm hoping all of this focuses. Let's see, another tip that is really great is the chisel tip. I don't use this too often because I don't work on plastics too often, but these are great for carving hooves and ears. Anything you need to dig in to get a dip of some sort. Hopefully you can see that too. That's the chisel tip there. This one's really good, and I'll demonstrate some of these to show you. The other one I have open, I don't know why I have it open. I think it might have been when I was trying to find an alternative to the one I broke. I haven't found much use for this one. It kind of I don't know, it's an odd shape. And it's got more of a cutting edge on the end here. I'm sure there's uses for it, but nothing that I found too, use for. And this one looks like I never even opened it. Let's see what this one is. Oh, this is a good one too. I have used this one. Good alternative to the big rounded one. You have but it's thinner. It's very similar, but thinner and a little more tapered than this one. So actually, I would probably end up grabbing this one before that one, unless it's a really tough resin. This is pretty thin, but another good one. Yeah, and it's cool because they come in these little thingies too. You can put them back so you know which tip is what, but I didn't because I don't know. So let's get started with some demonstration. Okay, so these work on pretty much everything from pewter to plastic to resin. I'll start. I'm just gonna show you the 3 tips that I normally use and how they kind of work and what it's like to have one of these. It is a little bit of a learning curve when you first get them. I remember when I first got them, I was really frustrated and kind of upset because everyone's like, oh, they scrape like butter and they're amazing, but you have to figure out what the best way for you is to hold them in order to get that effect, and, you got to get used to them a little bit. I was like scraping, I'm like, what are they talking about? I can't believe I spent all this money, like that type of thing. But they are, there's not a custom I've done that hasn't had one of these tips touch it, for prepping or whatever. I mean, I've used them for, picking out stuff in paint, and you just gotta be really careful when you do that, and a lot of other things. But anyway, so here, let's see if I can zoom in. Okay, we have a pewter micro here. This is the tip I use most often and just have sitting in here now. Again, I would be using that other tip that I broke, but this is the closest one to it. I tend to hold them in my hand like this. The edge that you want to scrape is where your knuckles kind of are. And my thumb here would be on the model to hold my hand steady to direct this. So you're kind of going like this with them. You're kind of just tensing your fists and knuckles while you're scraping. So, and then, you can start learning how to tweak your hand and stuff to get it in other areas. But the general way that I hold them, that I feel most comfortable with, is like this, and the thumb on the model where you're scraping. They're not like super sharp, but you do have to be careful. Don't be like pulling really hard and then boom, poke yourself, because you will draw some blood. But as far as just scraping it against your finger, you're not going to really cut yourself. Unless, maybe if I do it on the chisel tip or that other little knifey tip. But anyway, so here's the pewter. Again, let's see if I can hold this where you can see. And on the pewter, they're a little more difficult than, like, say, plastic and stuff, so you do have to put a little more pressure. But see how I'm holding my thumb here and directing where I want this to go with the top part of my hand. And then you get little scrapes of pewter that come off, if it will like to focus. But anyway, so that's that. Next, I'll show you, let's see, I'll grab this guy, and I'll change out the tip. So to change out the tip, you just twist this, just like an X-Acto blade. Pull it out. Pretty simple. Some people like to have, to buy separate handles, so you're not always switching them out when you switch tips, but I find I rarely switch tips anyway. So we will put the chisel tip in here first. Okay, and I'll show you how. The chisel tip I hold a little differently, depending on what I'm doing. We'll see how I'll end up holding it here. Sometimes more like a pencil, sometimes kind of like this, but again, you want something resting on the model to keep it in place. Especially with this one. This one is easy to slip and poke yourself with, because you are usually pressing a little harder. So these are really great for carving ears. And I will show you. See, it's like kind of hard to figure, like, especially doing this on camera and finding my hand position here. But these just kind of scrape, and you want to like push harder once you get towards the end to make a little dip in there. See, it's kind of rolling off the plastic. Maybe I can zoom in here. You can see more of how it's working. Oh, that was good if I got that in camera. See how it kind of just chisels it off. Focus. Chiseling. You can see that. I guess you can see this here better when I do it. So, hopefully that you were able to view that. Let's see if I can show you a hoof. I wonder why this has initials on it. That's interesting. This was in my body box, but the hooves seem to have a K and an L on them. But this doesn't seem to be customized in any way. Unless it was just somebody's horse. Anyway, I'll show you on a hoof. Same sort of thing. Just scrape it along. Yeah, so this is the one that you have to kind of push the hardest with, because you are like trying to dig into the plastic. Normally you're scraping. This is more of a digging, so you're pressing a little harder. Yeah, anyway, that's pretty terrible. But you can see how you just start digging into the plastic. So this one will dig you into the plastic pretty nicely. Alright, I will switch a tip now. I'll switch to the... Did I use this already? I did use this already now. I'll switch to the thick one. This is your big, thick one with the rounded edge. This is probably one of the more common ones that a lot of people use. And I will show you on a seam now. Okay, I will show you on this next seam here. And again, we usually use the side of this one for big areas. And we just scrape along the seam, thumb on the model. Voila. See? You can just do it like that. They are, in my opinion, safer than X-Actos. I would not recommend using X-Actos for scraping seams and things. They are so dangerous, especially when you're putting a lot of pressure. And usually on plastic, you need quite a bit of pressure. That's another thing where the learning curve came in, is that you need a bit of pressure for the plastic, because it's a harder plastic. Resin, you have to be careful because it's soft. So if you press hard, you're going to dig really deep. So it's easier to use on resin. It's great on plastic because these seams can be really hard to remove sometimes, especially when you're trying to sand it and stuff. It would take forever. But these, they just scrape away whatever you need to scrape away. Let's see if I can find something else on this guy to show. But and then the the round tip, you can even get into like armpits like this. See, down the legs. But you can see how useful these can be. There aren't any tools that I've found that can do what this does. You can accomplish, filing seams and stuff with other tools, but as far as being able to do what this does, I've never seen a tool that could do this for this purpose. It speeds up your process. It makes things so much easier. You can get into areas a lot easier with these too. I can't recommend these enough. These are great. I'll also show you on resin. I don't want to lose my tips here. Put on this big guy, or gal. This is Lynn Fraley's Winter's Whimsy. Wow, I didn't realize how big she is. She's big. She's awesome. Okay, I'll show you on resin, on how much softer the resin can be. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm being so much lighter on the resin. And it just crumbles off. And it's, for manes and stuff, you can get into these areas, and stay with the hair so you're not losing too much. You don't have to go back over. You can actually go with the flow of the mane. You have sandpaper, it's going to be hard to get into those little grooves. This is just great. You just go right in there, follow the line of the hair, and you don't have to worry about too much fixing later with epoxy and stuff, and you don't have to worry about taking down the detail. Let's see, any other areas here? I'll show you I'll switch the tip back to the one that I have pretty standard in my tool, with the triangle tip that also has a little chisel at the end there, which is actually similar to the other chisel, except you have a flat point now, so you're not going to get a point when you chisel. It'll be flatter. This would also be good for in the mane here, because you can, this one I like the dual purpose tips. Like this one has a dual purpose. You can get in, well, three purposes really. You can get into thinner areas because it's pointed, and it narrows down. You can get thick areas with this back part, and you can chisel with this one. So you see I'm scraping with the smaller side. I can chisel in here and kind of turn it and get it really thin like that. Get in the, probably creating a shadow. Turn it really thin in there. Again, do the thinner. I can also do, I don't want to mess up the fur here. Let's see. I can also use this really thick side and do this area. I just drop my toothpicks all over the place. So, I mean, again, these tools are very universal, and I guess that's the word to use. You can use it on a lot and do a lot of things with them. So I really, 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 really recommend getting at least one tip for your usage. And if I were to recommend one tip, I would say probably either the one that looks like this that doesn't have the chisel end, or this one, since you have a triple use out of this one, because you get the large area, you have a tapered, and you also have a little bit of a chisel tip there. So I hope this helps describe what these actually are and how to use them, and hopefully inspires you to get at least one or a set or something. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. And the only place you can get these is Rio Rondo. I heard that they're out of stock right now, and that kind of scares me because I hope that's not permanent, and I hope it's just that they're getting more made. They are custom tools for the hobby, so that is the only place you're going to be able to get these babies. So I highly recommend these. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.